Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and we are back with more of the Bhagavad Gita. Finally, hopefully, we have to finish up this introduction today. Anyway, yeah, if we do that, we'll actually be getting into the actual Vita. But yeah, let's go ahead and just jump into this here. Get my glasses down on my eyes. A higher image. Perhaps the clearest way to grasp the Gita is to look at the way it describes those who embody its teachings. There are portraits like this at the beginning of the Gita, the middle, and the end, each offering a model of our full human potential. The first is given at the end of chapter 2, verses which Gandhi said hold the key to the entire Gita. Arjuna has just been told about self-knowledge. Now he asks a very practical question. When a person attains this knowledge, how does it show? How do such people conduct themselves in everyday life? We expect a list of virtues. Instead, Krishna delivers a surprise. The surest sign is that they been have banished all selfish desires. Their senses and mind are completely trained, so they are free from sensory cravings and self-will. Identified completely with the self, not the body or mind, they realize their immortality here on earth. The implications of this are not spelled out. We have to see them in a living person. G.K. Chesterton once said that to understand the Sermon on the Mount, we should look not at Christ, but at St. Francis. To understand the Gita, I went to look at Mahatma Gandhi, who has done his best for 40 years to translate those verses into his daily life. Seeing him, I understood that those who see themselves in all and all in them would simply not be capable of harming others. Augustine says daringly, "Love, then do as you like. Nothing will come out of you but goodness." I saw too what it meant to view one's body with detachment, not indifference, but compassionate care as an instrument of service. I saw what it means to rest in the midst of intense action. Most important, I grasped one of the most refreshing ideas in Hindu mysticism: original goodness. Since the self is the core of every personality, no one needs to acquire goodness or compassion. They are already there. All that is necessary is to remove the selfish habits that hide them. Chapter 12 gives another portrait in its closing verses. And here we do get an inspiring list of the marks of those who follow the path of love. That one I love who is incapable of ill will, who is friendly and compassionate, living beyond the reach of I and mine, and of pleasure and pain, patient, contented, self-controlled, firm in faith, with all their heart and all their mind given to me. With such as these, I am in love. And finally comes the passionate description with which the Gita ends, when Krishna tells Arjuna how to recognize the man or woman who has reached life's supreme goal. One who is free from selfish attachments, who has mastered himself and his passions, attains the supreme perfection of freedom from action. Listen, and I shall explain now, Arjuna, how one who has attained perfection also attains Brahman, the supreme consummation of wisdom. These are not separate paths, separate ideas. All three passages describe one person: vital, active, compassionate, self-reliant in the highest sense, for he looks to the self for everything and needs nothing from life but the opportunity to give. In brief, such a person knows who he is, and in that knowing is everything. This is not running away from life, as is so often claimed. It is running into life, open-handed, open-armed, flying, running, and rejoicing, says Thomas à Kempis. For he is free and will not be bound, never entangled in self-doubts, conflict, or vacillation. Far from being desireless, look at Gandhi, Saint Catherine of Siena, Saint Teresa, Saint Francis. The man or woman who realizes God has yoked all human passions to the overriding desire to give and love and serve. And in that unification we can see not the extinction of personality, but its full blossoming. This is what it means to be fully human. Our ordinary lives of stimulus and response, getting and spending, seem by comparison as faint as remembered dreams. This flowering of the spirit appeals, I think, to everyone. This is the true joy in life, says Bernard Shaw. The being used for a purpose recognized by yourself as a mighty one. The being a force of nature, instead of a feverish, selfish little clod of ailments and grievances, complaining that the world will not devote itself to making you happy. Instead of nature with a capital N, of course, the Gita would like an instrument of the self. But that is the only difference. One of the most appealing features of the Gita is, for our times, is that it clears up misunderstandings about the spiritual life and shows it for what it is. Active, joyful, intentional, a middle path between extremes, and transfigures everyday living. Faith and spiritual evolution. One last untranslatable concept. I will let the Gita speak for itself. The concept is Shraddha, and its nearest English equivalent is faith. I have translated it as such, but Shraddha means much more. It is literally that which is placed in the heart, and the beliefs we hold so deeply that we never think to question them. It is the set of values, axioms, prejudices, and prepossessions that colors our perceptions, governs our thinking, dictates our responses, and shapes our lives, generally without our even being aware of its presence and power. This may sound philosophical, but Shraddha is not an intellectual abstraction. It is our very substance. The Gita says, a person is what his Shraddha is. The Bible uses almost the same words. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Shraddha reflects everything that we have made ourselves and points to what we have become. But there is nothing passive about Shraddha. It is full of potency, for it prompts action, conditions behavior, and it determines how we see and therefore respond to the world around us. When Norman Cousins talks about a belief system analogous to the body's organ systems, that is one aspect of Shraddha. He is referring to the power to heal or harm that is inherent in our ideas of ourselves. One person with serious illness believes he is a contribution to make to the world, and so he recovers. Another believes his life is worthless and he dies. That is the power of Shraddha. Simply self-image is part of Shraddha. One person believes she will succeed in life and overcome great obstacles. Another, who believes she can do nothing, may be more gifted and face fewer difficulties but accomplish very little. Yet Shraddha is not brute determination or wishful thinking. When St. John of the Cross says we live in what we love, he is explaining Shraddha. This is our world. Our lives are an eloquent expression of our belief. What we deem worth having, doing, attaining, being. What we strive for shows what we value. We back our Shraddha with our time, our energy, and very lives. Thus, Shraddha determines destiny. As the Buddha puts it, all that we are is the result that we have thought. We are made of our thoughts, and we are molded by our thoughts. We are, as we think, so we become. This is true not only of individuals, but of societies, institutions, and civilizations, according to the dominant ideas that shape their actions. Faith in technology, for example, is part of the Shraddha of modern civilization. Right Shraddha, according to the Gita, is faith in spiritual laws, in the unity of life, the presence of divinity in every person, the essentially spiritual nature of the human being. Wrong Shraddha is not necessarily morally wrong, merely ignorant. It means believing that there is no more to life than physical existence, that the human being is only a biochemical entity, that happiness can be got by pursuing private interests and ignoring the rest of life. Such beliefs are misplaced. We have attached our Shraddha to beliefs that life cannot bear out. Sooner or later they must prove false, and then our Shraddha changes. Like our thinking, therefore, like we ourselves, Shraddha evolves. The purpose of karma is to teach the consequences of Shraddha, so that by trial and error, life after life, the individual soul acquires the kind of faith that leads to fulfillment of life's supreme goal. Krishna explains the dynamics. When a person is devoted to something with complete faith, I unify his faith in that. Then, when faith is completely unified, one gains the object of devotion. In this way, every desire is fulfilled by me. This is perhaps the most compassionate insight into human evolution ever expressed. The Gita is steeped in it, but it is not exclusive to the Gita or to Hinduism. Whether you like it or not, whether you know it or not, says Meister Eckhart. Secretly, nature seeks and hunts and tries to ferret out the track in which God may be found. The whole purpose of every experience, every activity, every faculty is to turn the human being inward and lead each of us back to our divine source. Thus, every person seeking satisfaction in the world, outside, pleasure, power, profit, prestige, is really looking for God. As they approach me, so I receive them. All paths, Arjuna, lead to me. Two forces pervade human life, the Gita says. The upward thrust of evolution and the downward pull of our evolutionary past. Ultimately, then, the Gita is not a book of commandments but a book of choices. It does not mention sin, but mostly it talks about the ignorance and its consequences. Krishna tells Arjuna about the self, the forces of the mind, the relationship between thought and action, the law of karma, and then concludes, "Now, Arjuna, reflect in these words, and then do as you choose. The struggle is between two halves of human nature, and choices are posed every moment. Everyone who has accepted this challenge, I think, will testify that life offers no fiercer battle than the war within. We have no choice about the fighting. It is built into human nature. But we do have a choice of which side to fight on. Remembering me, you shall overcome all difficulties through my grace. But if you will not heed me in your self-will, nothing will avail you. If you egotistically say, I will not fight this battle, your resolve will be useless. Your own nature will drive you into it. Therefore, remember me at all times and fight on. With your heart and mind intent on me, you will surely come to me." Thus the Gita places human destiny entirely in human hands. This world is not deterministic, but neither is it an expression of blind chance. We shape ourselves in our world by what we believe and think and act on, whether for good or for ill. In this sense, the Gita opens not on Kurukshetra, but on Kshetra, the field of Dharma, where Arjuna and Krishna are standing for us all. So yeah. And that ends the introduction. So, yeah. Ow. My leg tried to cramp on me. I fell backward. So, we have now got the entirety of the introduction out of the way. We can start reading the chapter introductions, which I said are like a little short, and then a chapter. So it'll probably be introduction chapter for an episode. Introduction chapter episode. Something like that. So, but yeah. We are seeing how the Gita is, how it affects everything. There's a lot to keep up with. But in essence, it's now time to focus on the actual words of the Gita. We've got kind of an introductory lesson on Hinduism in general. Now we will get into the battlefield, which the battle itself is not near as important of the Bhagavad Gita. It is the conversation between the hero Arjuna and the god Krishna. So yeah. where Krishna tries to reveal the idea of a lot really depends on what you put forth in the world to find one's true self. So, yeah. We have done Greek mythology, a little bit of Roman, because they're kind of intertwined, Greek and Roman. Norse. Now we're getting into one of the scriptures of Hinduism, the Bhagavad Gita. Which I find that kind of interesting. The mythologies we've done so far, religious mythologies, are polytheistic. Hinduism seems to be monotheistic / polytheistic. It's like there's several versions of the same God, but they're still, from what I understand, the same God. I may be misunderstanding that. Let me know. But from what I understand, from what I've read, what has been explained to me, it's they're all more or less the same individual, even though they're different aspects. So that's where we'll see the transformations of a lot, and the famous line that is now Oppenheimer, one of the big things people know of Oppenheimer. And thus they transformed into Krishna and says, "Behold, I have become death, destroyer of worlds." So yeah. Or not Krishna. Kali. They transform into Kali. The blue-skinned, multi-armed devourer holding, I think it's supposed to be someone's head in one arm and a knife in the other. They've got other arms, and they always seem to have their tongue out. But yeah. So it's interesting. But yeah, from what I understand, it's Sri Krishna, and in the more, I guess, earthly plane is just Krishna. But I don't know. Like I said, let me know on where I'm kind of missing the mark. This is my first real dive into anything with Hinduism, so but yeah, we'll go ahead and end this episode here. As always, educate thyself, think, read, study, learn. Someone tells you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next. Until then, later.